They're not harmful to your plants per se, but they sure are annoying, especially when they fly into your mouths mid-sentence. Has that ever happened to you? Hello my fellows, hope you're doing okay. Thank you so much for stopping by. As I mentioned in my previous video, a couple of you requested a pest management video. So today we're going to discuss the common pests that plague our houseplants and how to treat them. Honestly, pests are inevitable, and if you're a houseplant parent, it comes with the territory and is completely normal. So if you've got issues with fungus gnats, spider mites, mealybugs, or thrips, keep on watching to find out how to treat them effectively. In this video, I'm going to go through an overview of certain pests and their treatment, but if you want a more in-depth video on a certain pest, please let me know in the comments down below. But before we get started, if you're new around here, my name is Grace and I post plant videos every week. If you enjoy planty content like this, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you get notified when a new video is out next week. And let's get into it. Probably the most common pest that 99% of us indoor gardeners have to deal with is fungus gnats. You know those tiny little flies that we just can't seem to escape from? If you grow your houseplants in soil, you'll know what I'm talking about. They're not harmful to your plants per se, but they sure are annoying, especially when they fly into your mouths mid-sentence. Has that ever happened to you? So where do they come from? My theory is that they sneak in through the bags of potting mixes that we get from our local garden centers. I can't tell you the number of times I've opened a fresh bag to find fungus gnats flying out of there. That's one of the main reasons why I've decided to mix my own soil, and also why I've transferred some of my plants into semi-hydro. But if you prefer to grow your plants in soil, there are many ways you can combat them. Firstly, you can use these yellow sticky traps to attract and trap the adult gnats. Secondly, it's recommended that you let the soil dry out, as these fungus gnats seek moist soil to breed in. And using a combination of these two tips, you can significantly reduce the number of fungus gnats in your home. Another way you can combat them is to top dress your soil with mosquito bits or gnat barrier to kill the baby gnats lurking in the soil. There are many different types of gnat barriers. I believe Bunnings has one from the brand Yates that you can use, but this one I got from Dr. Green Thumbs online. And it's made up of abrasive granules that help to kill baby gnats lurking in the soil. So this is the one that I use, and it's been really effective for me so far. I haven't really had any issues with fungus gnats in a while. So this is the one that I'd recommend if you are based in Australia. Last thing to note about this particular product though is it works best when it's dry. So once you water your plants and this thing gets moist, it's no longer as effective. So you're gonna have to replenish this every time you water your plant from the top. Next, let's talk about scale, that are little pests that are brown in color, flat, and oval in shape. They suck the sap from your houseplants, causing them to stunt in growth and die a slow death. They're actually not too difficult to treat in my opinion. You can manually pick them off the plant and wipe it down with some diluted insecticidal soap, or give it a spray down with some neem oil or white oil. However, they do tend to come back, so it's a good idea to just keep your eye on your plant just to make sure that you can take immediate action if you see any recurring. And just continue to repeat the treatment until your plant is free from scale. Now, similar to scale, we have mealybugs that also suck the sap from your houseplants, and these are more common to the semi-succulent or succulent type plants like Hoyas and succulents. They like to hide in the nooks and crannies of these plants, and they spread quite easily. You'll know if you have mealybugs if you see white fluffy looking bugs that also give off this like white fuzz. If you catch them early, they can be quite easy to treat, but if you leave them for too long and if the infestation gets quite serious, you're much better off just disposing of the plants before it spreads. So how do we treat it? You can manually remove it with a Q-tip dipped in rubbing alcohol. As a preventative measure, you can also spray down your plants with some neem oil or some white oil to keep them at bay. Okay, now let's talk spider mites. These guys are the bane of my existence, as they especially love Calatheus alocaceus and some philodendrons. They spread to nearby plants really easily and also can do significant damage, so this is one pest that you really need to keep an eye out for. They are usually too small to see with your naked eye, but a good telltale sign of spider mites is fine webbing around your plants, especially around the sinus. And it's really important to take action immediately as soon as you notice it, because otherwise things can go downhill real fast. And in terms of treatment for spider mites, I really can't recommend this one enough. This is Vitality Plus. Ever since I started spraying this all over my plants, I never had to worry about spider mites again. Last but not least, let's talk about thrips. Oh, thrips. This has got to be the worst pest in my books. They can spread very easily and very quickly, even when your plants aren't very close to each other, because these pests can jump. Signs of thrips include puncture holes at the back of the foliage when they suck on leaves, brownish discoloration from scraping, or warped new growth. They are these black little insects that crawl all over your plants, and they especially love new growth. They also leave this like little white grains on the foliage of your leaves, and I think they are larvae if I'm not mistaken. So if you see any of these, you gotta take action immediately. You have to be really mindful of their life cycle, because even if you get rid of all the adult thrips, they can come back again when their larvae matures. So it's recommended to have a two-pronged strategy when it comes to dealing with thrips to target the adults as well as their eggs. I personally use Confidor to help treat thrips, but I also use this blue sticky traps, as it is said that they're attracted to the color blue. And let me tell you, it actually works. See how it's got a couple of thrips on here? I know it's not many, but you know, this shows that it actually works. And if you don't know what thrips looks like, this is your guide. If you don't have Confidor where you are, just look for a product with the same active ingredient and it should work the same. Lastly, I also use diatomaceous earth as a catch-all, and I give my plants a generous dusting of this to help kill thrips as well as any other pests with an exoskeleton. If you don't know what it is, please Google it, as it is pretty hard to explain, but how it works is that it absorbs the pest's waxes and oils on their cuticle layer, leading to death by dehydration. So basically what it does is that it's really abrasive to any pests or insects with an exoskeleton. As long as it is kept dry, especially on your plants, it'll work to protect it. But once wet, it wouldn't really work anymore. So if you do end up using it, please be careful. Don't inhale any of the dust or touch it, because it can cause irritation and be quite harmful to you. One of the downsides of using diatomaceous earth is that it does leave a dust or like some fine residue on your plants. So if you're not a fan of that look, then I would just avoid using them. One last solution that I do need to give an honorable mention to is beneficial insects that prey on pests. Now, there are many different types of beneficial insects that prey on specific pests, but I'm not going to get into that in this video because I personally haven't tried them out. But I might leave them to a later video if that's something that you guys are interested in. Before we finish off this video, there's a couple more things I'd like to add. Number one, prevention is better than cure. So every time you water your plants, it's good practice to check it for any pests, just to make sure that you can take action really quickly in the event you find any. Number two, always isolate any new plants that you bring into your home, whether it's from a trade or if you're purchasing a new plant. It's always a good practice to put them away from your other plants for around about 7 to 14 days, just to make sure they're clear of any pests before you introduce them into your houseplant collection. Oftentimes, these pests aren't immediately visible to the eye, so it's better to be safe than sorry. And lastly, if you can help it, try to position your plants so that they're not so close together that their leaves touch. This is just in case one plant has a certain pest. It's easier to prevent any spread if they are further apart. I know that's easier said than done, especially if you have a gazillion plants, but trust me, it's well worth the effort. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope you found it helpful. If you want to see more, feel free to check out these videos right here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay mellow, my fellows.